So we've had a good, what, 2.5, 3 hours here. Sometimes I'm in a time warp when I do these interviews, but we've gotten incredibly valuable information, Wendy. As we wrap up, I would love to hear a success story. And if you could just do us a favor, maybe just leave out identifying information. That's kind of a rule we have here.
Sure.
At Film Courage.
Okay. So let's see. I think, well, there are a couple. One would be from something that was quite a while ago that I had read a play by a writer, and I was so enamored of the story. It was made and it was on CBS, and it wound up being called Sally Hemings, An American Scandal. And what I love about the story is that she had written it, and I had first found out about it, I think it was either 7 or 9 years before it got made. And all I'll say is that the stars were aligned, and it was the fact that what happened was I came close to selling it within the first 2 years that I had the project. That was under option, I think when I was at Hearst Entertainment, and came close but didn't sell it. And then one day the writer and I read in the trades that Merchant Ivory had sold a movie called Jefferson in Paris with Nick Nolte. And the two of us, and this happens in the business, and it invariably, I mean, it happens to everyone. And right now I have 2 projects actually where there are other competing projects in the marketplace, and we're trying to get ours done first. But anyway, so the writer and I, we were quite despondent, and then it was like, all right, life goes on, and one foot in front of the other, and you keep, what's the next project, and you put your focus there. But I never forgot how much I loved that script. And so Merchant Ivory movie was made, and 2 years later, I felt like I would hear opportunities in network television where they were interested in they were doing period pieces, and Hewitt Halmy, which was a big producer at the time, doing lots of period films for network. And so every couple of years, I would think maybe there's a different audience that we could get and reach with, TV. And I would seek opportunities, and I would call up the writer, and I would say, is that script still available? And she'd say yes, and one of those times, 7 years later, she said yes. As a matter of fact, such and such actress, I was having lunch with her manager, and we talked about it, and she might be interested in playing the role. So I wound up calling up CBS and saying, we don't have a commitment, but we have preliminary interest from so-and-so. And she said, we'll send it over. And it was originally written as a 2-hour movie. And the network came back and said, you know what? We think we might be interested in turning it into a mini-series, but instead of making it so much about Thomas Jefferson, we'd like to make it much more Sally Hemings' point of view. So we did. We rolled up our sleeves. We spent a month working with her, preparing an outline to bring to the network so we could show what the end of night 1 was that would ensure people there was enough of a cliffhanger that people would come back for night 2, so we could justify, yes, this is enough material for a miniseries. And the day we wind up going in to pitch, 2 days before, it wound up hitting the front page of New York Times, Wall Street Journal, I think Time Magazine, that they had done tests finally conclusively with Thomas Jefferson and concluded from the DNA that he in fact did have a long-term relationship with Sally Hemings, and that they did have 5 children together. So all of our competitors were saying, oh my God, you guys were so smart to be on it and in the network 2 days after. Little did they know that this had started about 9 years earlier. And as I'm sure a lot of us have heard this expression, but it is a very good one, that success is when preparedness meets opportunity. So if we didn't have, if I hadn't fallen in love with this piece, if the writer hadn't written this wonderful piece, if in fact I hadn't continued every 2 years to inquire and see if there was new opportunity, then and if we didn't do our homework to really, we spend a month preparing to go in. And I've seen very good writers who have blown deals when they don't prepare enough.
You said something that caught my ear, and I just wanted to follow up, and that is you've seen writers blow a deal because they weren't prepared. So are they not prepared to know what the genre that this network is used to dealing with?
Actually, I would say more with, sometimes if you have a script, it can sell itself. But other times, maybe you have a pitch. I mean, I've seen very, very like established writers go in a room, and because they haven't prepared the pitch really well, and it kind of meanders, and it could be a really good story, but I really am a big advocate of preparing, and I'm reminded of seeing a lot of people probably don't know Whoopi Goldberg. When she started out, she was an absolutely brilliant comedian, and when I saw her at a charity event, and man, she killed it on stage. And for her to be, there's no question that certain geniuses in comedy are great ad-libbing and this and that, but they're also, for her to be, and with most of the great comics, they look so spontaneous. They work their butts off rehearsing and rehearsing to be able to deliver so smoothly. So I do think it's important for, if you're going to be pitching a project, to be prepared. And that's what we as producers had to do when we were pitching the Sally Hemings piece, and it's what I had to do all the time. And when I'm working with writers and we're going to go in and pitch, is, we have to do the work.